Wow, it's another interesting and expository basic science class with Miss Andres. I know you are ready for this because I am. You are warmly welcome to my class. I trust you are with your writing materials because today's class is going to be very educative. So, the topics we'll be looking at today are physical and chemical changes of matter, reversible and irreversible changes of matter with their examples, biodegradable and non-biodegradable matter, and what happens to matter after it is being used. So, can we sail together? The first topic we'll be looking at today is physical and chemical changes of matter. We want to know how matter can change physically and chemically. Matter can change in two ways. How many ways? Two ways. It can change physically and chemically. So we'll be looking at the physical changes of matter. What is a physical change of matter? This is when matter changes its state, but it is still the same substance. So matter can change its properties like its shape, its size, and even its state, but the substance remains the same and a new substance is not formed. For example, matter can change from solid to liquid. That means it has changed its state, but the substance still remains and no new substance is formed. So you say it changes physically. Like as you keep growing and you keep increasing in age, you start changing physically. Your body size changes, your body shape changes, but you are still the same person. That's what happens physically in a physical change. The matter changes its state, but it is still the same substance. So let's look at some examples. Melting of ice cubes. So the ice cube melts into water, but the substance still remains. No new substance is formed. It melted into water, not something else. So dissolving of sugar into water, you still have your sugar, you still have your water. Then one significant thing about physical change of matter is it can still return back to its original state. So we'll be looking at chemical change of matter. What is a chemical change? A chemical change occurs when the atoms and molecules, that's the particles, begins to form into a completely new substance. Remember, in physical change, no new substance was formed, but in a chemical change, a new substance is formed. We'll be looking at some common examples around us about chemical change. We'll be looking at rusting of iron. Once an iron begins to rust, it is very difficult to take it back to its original state. Burning of firewood. When the firewood turns into an ash, you cannot change the ashes back into the firewood. Cooking. Now, cooking involves so many processes. In cooking, by the time you mix these ingredients together, it will be very difficult to get each in the ingredients back to its original state. So we also have baking, we have digestion. By the time you eat a food and it is being digested, when you pass it out at physics or you were sick and you threw up the food, it will be very difficult to recover it the way it was originally. So when such a thing happens, we say there is what? A chemical change. That brings us to the next topic, which is reversible and irreversible changes of matter. Now, if you can bring something back to its original state, we say that thing has reversed. So all physical changes of matter are reversible, but all chemical changes of matter are irreversible. Why are they irreversible? Because they cannot go back to their original state. Once the change occurs, you cannot reverse it, you cannot undo it. Yes, I know now you are wondering how physical changes of matter can be reversed. If I melt my butter, for example, maybe in a frying pan, I take butter. Butter is what state of matter? Solid. So if I melt it in a frying pan, what will happen? It will change its state, right? So it becomes liquid. So solid have changed to liquid. When solid changes to liquid, it is called what? Melting. Very good. So when it changes to liquid, I can take it back to its original state. That it was solid before, I can take it back. And how do I do that? By keeping it in a container and allow it to solidify and get hardened for some time. So by the time I allow it to get hardened for some time, it will go back to its original state. So that's why it is reversible. Now, take for example the dissolving of sugar into water. Sugar was what state of matter? Solid, beautiful. And when by the time we dissolve it into water, what state of matter does it become? Liquid. So when I take this mixture and I put it in a pot and I begin to boil, so by the process of boiling, steam begins to go up. What process is that? Evaporation. Very good. So by the time all the liquid has evaporated into steam, and there's no water left, what is left behind in the pot is my sugar. All the phase change, sublimation, condensation, melting, freezing, and all of that, they are all what? Examples of physical changes of matter. So how do you know if a physical or a chemical change has occurred? One is there might be a change of color. It might have a new color. For example, you take your sugar is white in color, and you dissolve it inside water. By the time it is being dissolved, the color changes from being white to being colorless. So it might also have a new texture. Now you have your wood. I'm talking about chemical change. When you burn wood, your wood is very hard. And by the time it changes chemically and turns to ashes, when you touch it, you find out that the texture has changed. Then it might have different boiling and melting point. So it has a new color, new texture, different melting and boiling point. How does a chemical or physical change occur? In a chemical change, the atoms or molecules are being fused. When you say fused, they are being joined together or they are being broken apart. By the time the chemical changes are taking place, you find out that the atoms and molecules begin to split. So as they are splitting, you'll be seeing it. How do you see it? You find out that the wood you were burning begins to break down into what? Ashes. So that's how you know a chemical change has occurred. So by fusing or breaking of the atoms and molecules. So how do you know a physical change has occurred? By rearranging of molecules. For example, the process I gave you, melting, where you melt the butter into liquid. What happens? In solid, the particles are closely packed together, the molecules, they are closely packed together. So by the time it begins to change to liquid, what what happens to the particles of liquid? The particles are farther apart. When there's a rearrangement of molecules, physical change occurs. And when there's a fusing or breaking apart of atoms and molecules, chemical change occurs. Now the big question is, what happens to matter when we are done using it? Know this, that the materials we use in our daily lives, your cups, your plastic can, your pencil, nylons you use to buy things, they can be reused. For us to be able to reuse matter, now must know their categories. Are they biodegradable or are they non-biodegradable? Now, by biodegradable, what do we mean? And by non-biodegradable, what do we mean? So we say a waste is biodegradable. What it means is that the waste can be broken down naturally by microorganisms and it can turn back to soil. For example, your food waste. So these organisms can act on them and they can turn back to soil, like your paper, your towel, vegetables, fruits, and so on. Microorganisms can act on them. So when these microorganisms act on them, they become broken down and they turn back to what? To soil. So you can see them all around us. A non-biodegradable waste is waste that cannot be easily decomposed or degraded by natural agents. That means it cannot be broken down naturally. So microorganisms cannot act upon them. They cannot become soil. Examples are plastics, nylon, your bags, and so on. Matter that have been used is now waste. So what happens to this matter? Remember we said matter is all around us. So number one, they might be thrown into a landfill site. So a site that needs a landfill, maybe so many potholes, you can use this matter to fill it. This matter, instead of just throwing them on burning, then you can take it to a landfill site and use it for filling the land. It can be incinerated or burned. You can make use of an incinerator where you have to burn them. Another thing again is it can be recycled. That means it can be rebranded. It can go through a process where it can be reused. You understand? So some materials that can be reused again, that can be recycled, are your plastics, anything made of plastic, they can be recycled. Even before these items can be used as landfill, they must undergo strict filtering and sorting system. So what do we mean by sorting? Categorizing materials according to their kind. So you say these materials can be recycled. So you group them together, putting them in groups based on their kind. So you group all the cups and all the nylon and everything that are made of plastics together. Then you group all the kitchen waste, all the plantain peels, the yam peels, the vegetable waste, and all of that. You group them together as kitchen waste. Then you also have waste that can be hazardous to us, like from batteries and all of that, that are very dangerous to us. So you group all these things together. So with sorting, you can ensure a safe and healthy management of used materials. So even with sorting, you can easily arrange those materials that can be recycled. So you already have my recycled my recyclable materials here. You have hazardous materials like batteries, used electronics like your old phones, computers, automotive waste, and all of that. So why are they hazardous? Because they can be dangerous to us. So sorting of waste is a very huge step in ensuring the safe and healthy management of used materials. So with that, we've come to the end of our today's class. I know you enjoyed the class and you've learned something new. So I'll quickly do a recap. We started by talking about physical and chemical changes of matter. We gave examples. We said physical changes of matter are reversible, while chemical changes of matter are irreversible. And later we talked about biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable can be broken down by natural organisms to become soil, while non-biodegradable cannot be easily degraded or decomposed by natural organisms. Then we talked about how matter can be reused. It can be incinerated or burned. Then we said it can be recycled. Then we ended by talking about sorting of waste. I said for us to be able to have a safe and healthy management of used materials, then we must know how to sort waste. And sorting of waste is grouping or categorizing different waste according to their kind. Now you have great knowledge of matter, chemical and physical changes, phase change, and so on. Thank you for joining today's class. I know you enjoyed every bit of it. Do not forget to attempt your quiz and do your assignments. See you in class. Bye.